Hey there, it's Kat, and I have a really cool welcome wreath for you. So we're going to use this sign with the buffalo plaid. We're going to use 10 different 12-inch ribbons that are dovetailed. We're going to use a wire frame, which I added pipe cleaners to. This is considered an outer, as anything that's on the outer two rings. This one is considered an inner. So that's also an inner, and that's an outer. So there's two bands of pipe cleaners. Then I have some natural mesh that's cut in two sizes. The outer mesh that I'm using, which there are 12 of, is cut at 30 inches. And the inner, which this one is shorter, and it is cut at 20 inches. And for the inner circle, there are 9 pipe cleaners. So 12 on the out and 9 on the inside. So basically I work with the natural curl of the mesh, and I basically scrunch it together and then lay it into an open pipe cleaner. And then I just pull the pipe cleaners. Sorry, I caught part of my lighting. I close those pipe cleaners and twist one time just to secure, because we are going to go back and add ribbon on top of those. So again, just rolling in the edge, kind of work my fingers across to the other side, rolling in the other cut edge. Those I'm going to try and put to the back. I pinch in the middle and find an open pipe cleaner. Then I take those two ends and I twist them together. And basically, I'm just going to keep going around the circle, doing it this way. It does not matter if you start on the inner circle or the outer. If this is new to you doing wreath making, I would start on the outer circle. The reason why, you have a little bit more mesh to work with, so you get the hang of that scrunching technique. And then, so this is going to be an outer one. So if this is new, this is where I would start, is on the outer, and then work my way to the inner. So again, same technique, scrunch, roll it over, scrunch to the other side, walk your fingers across your work surface. When you get to the other side, I'm going to roll that edge in. So now both of the cut ends are kind of back and tucked in the middle. Then I'm going to find an outer pipe cleaner. I'm going to lay the mesh in, and I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing. I'm just going to twist off once. You could do twice if you prefer. Either way, we just don't want to tuck them all away. So at this point, I'm going to kind of speed things up, and you can pause this video at any time if you need to kind of catch up. But it's the same process, and I will put on all the pieces of mesh. Ribbon. So I'm working with 10 different ribbon patterns. So I have this buffalo plaid with the welcome, just a solid black. I have a white iridescent that I paired with another buffalo plaid. And I have this houndstooth, and I paired that with this black and white stitching. So that's another pairing. And then I have kind of buffalo plaid with the natural, paired with natural ribbon, and then I have these striped ones with the polka dots. Now all of my ribbon are cut to 12 inches. So this set I actually have 5 of, so I'm going to pull that one to the side. I have 5 of each one. Each of these other ones, I have 4 of each one. So I'm actually going to take a sampling, of each of those stacks. So I'm taking a pair from each of the piles and making a pile. Now I'm going to basically repeat that. And so I have 3 more left. So I'm kind of matching this up here. And I want to kind of keep the ribbon in the same order that I'm stacking them. And this will make more sense when we're putting the ribbon on, but it helps you to kind of spread that ribbon out and kind of keep things neat and organized. And I've just found this over time that this is the most successful way for me to put on all this ribbon and not end up with them being next to one another. Okay, so I'm just going to stack these up and put them into piles. Now remember, there's 4 piles of the 4 sets of ribbon. Now, coming back to this one, I actually have 5 of these. So I'm going to put these on first, and basically I'm just going to pinch in the middle and kind of, make it a little bit of an accordion. I'm going to do the same to the second one. I'm going to make them form an X. It does not matter which one is on top and which is on bottom. Once it's on the wreath, you're not going to be able to tell which one's on top. Now, if you want to think of your wreath frame as like a clock face. So if you think about 12 o'clock is up here, and that's usually where I like to start. Then you go to you do like a 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and kind of like a 10 o'clock position. So those are my 5 places. So I'm going to start. I usually start with this ribbon, the first one on an inner at the top. And this ribbon, you do need to pay attention to the direction because of the words. So basically, I'm laying it into an open pipe cleaner. I'm twisting it, and I twist it a time or two. And then I'm going to take those ends and I'm going to tuck them to the back side of the wreath. Now, some people like to wait and do this at the end. I like to do it in the beginning when I'm putting on the ribbon. So I flip it over, and basically I always want to cross over 2 bars and 2 circles. And I'm going to twist that off. Now you may not want to twist it all the way down, just because in case you decide you want to change the ribbon placement, you don't have as much to untwist to get it off. But by doing that X, you can kind of see that the ribbon is already spread out for you. You don't have to really yank on it to separate it. Again, we've got to pay attention to the way the welcome reads, because you don't necessarily want, some upside down. So I'm going to now go and put this next one on an outer piece. And I'm going to try and stay about that 2 o'clock position. Sometimes it works great. It's at 2 o'clock. Sometimes it's at 3 o'clock. It doesn't matter. It's just that general vicinity. Okay. And so then I'm going to, again, twist the pipe cleaners. I'm going to push them to the back side of the wreath. And then I will show you one more time on the back. So this one's an interesting one because it's only on the outside. So you want to make sure you cross over that inner bar, and because it keeps it from that mesh from rolling to the back side of your wreath. So by pulling it over 2 bars and twisting so it's laying flush there, it will help the mesh from rolling to the front side. Okay, now the next one I'm going to put this one around the 5 o'clock position. Now, depending upon how things work, it may be inside or maybe outside. In this instance, I'm going to go on the outside. We do want to alternate between inside and outer, but since there's 5, you're going to have 3 on the outside and 2 on the inside. So again, I'm not going to keep flipping that wreath over, but I'm just twisting off on the back side. And then you can straighten your ribbon now, or you'll have plenty of time to do it at the end. So the next one I definitely will want to do in the inside. And so I'm going to try and do this around 7 o'clock position. And again, pay attention to which direction the words are going, because I've kind of twisted my wreath around. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping it lined up. And I am going to put this one on the inside. So I'm going to try and find a open pipe cleaner on about 7 o'clock position on the inner. Okay, again, I'm showing you to make sure you got the words lined up correctly. Sometimes when you're working with ribbon, you have lots of different patterns that have a direction to them. Luckily, with this one, there's only one that has a direction, so it makes it a little bit easier as you're applying that ribbon. So we're going to put that on, and then I'm going to move on to the last pair, and I'm going to put this around 10 o'clock position, and it's going to go on the outside. So one thing to keep in mind is you will be able to fluff the ribbon once everything is complete. So don't worry too much about if it's overlapping or if you're not liking how it's sitting. So, all right, now we got all 5 on. So now the next thing is I'm gonna start working in segments. And so I'm gonna take a stack and I kind of keep the arrangement of these in the same order. So I'm gonna take the first one off the stack and go ahead and put that on to the wreath. And so this one I'm starting on the outside. Then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to pair it up and I'm going to put this one on the inside. So I'm going to be alternating between inside and outside with these ribbons. So I want to try and keep it so that they're pretty well spread out, and it'll make a little bit more sense as I keep going. So I'm going to grab the third set of ribbon and I'm going to go ahead and find a spot for it. So I'm doing this one on the outside. So the next pile, I'll take that white and buffalo plaid and this natural and buffalo plaid, and I'm going to try and get those to be more on the inside. Now, being that there are only 9 openings and we've already taken 2, there's 7. So one of them's not going to have a second one on the inside, if that makes sense. It's a little bit of math. I know, heaven forbid, we have to think about math. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the inside. So now I've got 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside. And then I'm going to take the next stack of ribbon and I'm going to work in that same order. Okay. So now I'm going to take this white and buffalo plaid. Now it was on the outside originally, so I'm looking to kind of see where I want to do this. So I am going to put this one on the inside and then I will swap and do that houndstooth and black check on the outside. And then the natural I'll put on the inside. So you're just going to keep alternating and working this around the whole wreath. And you will find by doing it this way, you have the ribbon very well spread out. So I'm going to speed up a little bit, finish applying all these ribbon, and we'll come back with the next step. So now all the ribbon's on, we're going to go ahead and finish off the back of the wreath. And so we're going to take these pipe cleaners and we're going to tighten them and twist them down so that the ends of them aren't poking out on your surface. If you have tools like needle nose pliers, this is a great time to use those to roll those edges in. If you don't have them, there's no problem. Pipe cleaners are very malleable, so you're able to just do it with your fingers. I like using the needle nose because it actually gets a little tighter and it also saves my fingers from those type things, the ends. The other option is if you have some wire cutters, you can trim down your pipe cleaners and then roll them down. So it's up to you kind of how you want to do it, but then I'm going to go around and do this to all the pipe cleaners on the back. Okay, so now it's time to add the sign. So you're going to kind of make sure you find the right side with the way the welcome words go. You're going to lay the wreath on top. There were actually 2 holes already in the sign, so I'm utilizing them. I've attached fishing line or monofilament to those holes. It's hard to see, but right now all I'm doing is I'm pulling out the ribbon. I like to pull out all my ribbon. I can always push it back under, but I can't. If you pull it out after the fact that you've attached the sign, a lot of times it will cause you'll have too much room and your sign will slip. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing those fishing line to the back side of the wreath. So I've got them in each hand. I know you can't see it, but I'm going to use those crossbars and I'm going to wrap them around the crossbars and use that to tie off. So I wrapped it on the left and the right and then pulling it together in the center where I'm going to tie off or tie it into a knot. If you just tie it along the round parts of the metal frame, your knot will slide and your sign will slip. So that's why it's important to use those crossbars. Now I'm just checking to see if I've got enough tension and it's where I want it to be. I won't finish tying off this side until I get the other one on, but at least get it so that it will not move at the moment. So now I'm kind of pulling out the ribbon again, and I'm going to go to the top side of the wreath sign, and I'm pushing the fishing line to the back, and then I'm going to flip it over and work from there. So I'm going to turn this over once I kind of get nestled in where I want it, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to utilize this crossbar, come up and do this one, and then I'm going to do the other side, and I'm going to come back to this crossbar. And so it's important to use two of them is what I like to do. And that way it gives you your fishing line enough tension to hold it in place. Again, I'm checking my placement. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie this off, and then I will tie the other side off and trim down that fishing line. I would do recommend when you're using fishing line, unless you are absolutely perfect at throwing square knots, I would do at least 4 throws, and then usually I will wrap it around one more bar and do another 4. And the reason why I do this is just for security. Again, I don't know if it's totally necessary, but I certainly don't want to find out. All right, so now I've got my sign on. I can start fluffing my ribbon. But before I really get too far into that, I do want to add a wire hook. So I like to use, some people use just door hangers, which is fine. But I also like to use a 3M hook. So I'm using this little wire here. It's moldable. So if you don't have tools, you can just bend it with your fingers. Having the pliers, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to go to the top side and flip it over. And I'm going to add this onto this bar here. And I'm just going to wrap it around. And again, I like to use my needle nose pliers just because it helps get it a little tighter. And I also don't tear up my fingers with the wire. But it is doable if you don't have that. I guess in theory, you could also use a pipe cleaner to do this. I just find that the little wire hook is a little bit more stable and less, it's a little bit more resistant to the bending, so it will hold its shape better. And I hang mine using 3M hooks. So once you get this tightened down, and you just want to make sure that the rough ends aren't facing the back, so when you hang it on your door or your wall, it's not going to scratch. And that's all that I'm trying to do. And so I'm just trying to get a little tight, and it's being a little fussy with me. But then once you have that on, you are complete and you have made a beautiful wreath. So I hope you enjoyed watching my videos, and will consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. So I will come back and show you more styles of wreaths, but this is one of my favorite ones to make. It's kind of a collab of things I've seen online and kind of own this style. So have a great day.